Hey guys, Nathan here again with another tutorial, this time on sidechaining in Fruity Loop Studio. Not only how do you do it, but also why would you do it. First of all, how do you do it? Well, you have a kick drum channel, the percussion bit sound, so you can also do it with drums, with hi-hats, anything that's a bit like percussion. And you have the sound that you want to sidechain under it. So for instance an ambience, or well, I selected some noise. Really nice to hear. Okay, first of all you select the Fruity P controller. I seriously have no idea what these things are for. I've seen it on YouTube a couple of times that people do use it, but I have no idea how it works, and I really don't care how it works. I just want this thing here off, otherwise you don't hear shit. So this one off. And it's also important that you put it on the first channel or around the first channel. Like, you don't want a compressor in front of it, since right now the kick drum goes right into here, so this measures how big the peaks are of the kick drums. And if you put a compressor in front of it, the peaks will change, so you will have to change it again to get the sound you previously had, and you don't want that, so keep it on the first one. The only thing you might want to have in front of it is something like a gate or something, if you want gated kick drums. Then you go to this channel and you select the soft clipper. The soft clipper is a limiter in Fruity Loops, and it really doesn't cost a lot of CPU, so like you have also this limiter, but this one is a bit bigger already, so bye bye. This one is a lot simpler. You want the threshold to be fully open. Maybe not, if it sounds a bit over compressed. You can tweak this a little bit, but I always keep it like this until I hear it's really over compressed. And it's a post that you want to link to the controller. First though, you can also link this to controller, so this fader here, but I'll show you why you don't want to do that. So what you do first is make sure that remove conflicts is off, then you select the peak of the kick, and you want inverted, but this one isn't right, and I'll also show you why. You don't want 1, you want 0.8. If you use 1, you get this, and you see this is 1, this is 100%, and you don't want 100%, you want it to be here on the 0 line. So you use 0.8. And now it does work well. But why do you not want it on this channel? Well, if you're mixing and for instance you hear this sounds a little bit too loud, you think, okay, I'll put it a bit downward, but once the kick drum comes in again, it goes and ends back here again, which is really annoying, and I would advise not to do that on the faders. So reset, bye bye, we'll use this one, the soft clipper. I'm not sure if there's another volume button somewhere in the Fruity's native plugins. That would be nicer, but we'll use this one. So also link to controller, same thing again, remove conflicts off, peak from the kick, and 0.8 minus input. With this one is the same story as with those faders, also 0.8, not 1. And I'll also multiply the input by 2.5 to make it work a little bit harder. It's not that difficult actually. So this is the begin thingy. Then you get the input from the kick drum, and I multiply that with 2.5. so it has more effect. Then you get this. You might recognize the sound a bit. Well, it doesn't exactly sound like it, especially because I put this distortion on it. But in trance music they use this a lot, doing a sidechain on a noise, on white noise. And also in electro house they use it as well, usually with a Reese bass, and you get something like this. Wait, this is it without the sidechain, which sounds like nothing. And then with the sidechain, which sounds kind of familiar. Now, that is one effect you can use it for, but I also use it a little bit more subtle with pretty much any component in my mix, like ambient, synthesizers, these kind of things, as long as not a percussion sound but a longer sound. Also sound effects could be used for it as well, and this is a little trick to make a mix just that little bit better. It's not a game changing trick, but well, it's the small details that count, and I actually find this really helpful. You get the soft clipper, and instead of putting it on this high, you do it a little bit more subtle. Let's see if divided by 5 gives something. Going back to the noise. Well, so first it sounds like this. It's pretty hard to hear the kick drum well. It's kind of like if you have two sounds that don't really mix well together, this is really helpful. Like in this case. And with the subtle sidechain. Might be a little bit difficult to hear it over YouTube, but it's quite a subtle difference, but you hear the kick just a little bit better. Maybe if I divide it by 2 instead of 5, I can hear it a bit better. You don't really hear the noise going under the kick, but still there's a little subtle difference that makes it sound as if it's mixed a little bit better. And that's really useful. If you don't hear it over YouTube, I would advise trying this with your own music. And if you listen really well, you can hear the difference. And if you use it on enough channels, that does make quite a difference. So that's just one of those little things you can do to just make your mix a little bit better. And that was it for this tutorial. I hope you learned something, and see you next tutorial.